Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a theory that's pretty wild. It connects one of humanity's greatest achievements with one of the most terrifying films ever made. It suggests the truth isn't out there in space, but hidden away in a haunted hotel. So, the source we're looking at today, this document called the Scientific Indictment, makes a really bold claim. It says the truth about the Apollo 11 moon landing is actually hidden in plain sight, encoded inside Stanley Kubrick's 1980 horror classic, The Shining. Okay, so let's get right into the heart of this. The core idea is that Stanley Kubrick, who is known for being an absolute perfectionist, was carrying this massive, world-changing secret, and he decided to embed his confession not in some diary, but right into his art. According to this document, the movie isn't just about a haunted hotel at all. No, it's a symbolic labyrinth, a puzzle box that was meticulously designed to reveal Kubrick's supposed role in faking the Apollo moon landing for the US government.
So you might be asking, how would a director even do that? Well, the document we're analyzing points to 4 key cinematic clues. It calls them Kubrick's Gnostic Testament, which is basically a fancy way of saying it's a hidden message for those who have the special knowledge to find the real truth.
The source document breaks this whole alleged confession down into these 4 distinct visual symbols from the film. So let's take a closer look at the details. The source argues these details are just way too specific to be a coincidence. I mean, you have Danny, the innocent psychic kid, wearing an Apollo 11 sweater while he's playing on a carpet that looks a lot like a NASA launch pad. And then you have those terrifying twin girls. The indictment connects them to the Gemini program, which came before Apollo, and of course, Gemini is Latin for twins. Okay, now this is the real kicker. In the original Stephen King book, the forbidden, haunted room is number 217. Kubrick deliberately changed it to 237. So why? Well, the source claims it's because the average distance to the moon is about 237,000 miles. So room 237 becomes the symbolic moon room, the place where all the fake, unreal stuff happens.
But all this just brings up a huge question, right? Why would a deception this massive, this expensive, even be necessary? Why not just, go to the moon?
The document points to one single, gigantic problem: physics. It claims the Van Allen radiation belts, these massive rings of absolutely lethal radiation that surround the Earth, were basically an impassable barrier for the kind of technology they had back in the 1960s. So, to create this new reality, the source alleges a secret production was put into motion. Kubrick, they say, was hired after his incredible work on 2001: A Space Odyssey basically served as his audition tape. The key technology was this advanced front projection technique, and the filming supposedly happened at a top-secret Air Force film studio out in Laurel Canyon. Okay, so from here, the indictment totally shifts gears. It starts to look at the physical evidence. It does what it calls a forensic audit, hunting for clues in the actual NASA footage that might point to a film set from the 1960s. And this is where you can really see the core conflict. For every single anomaly in the footage, the sky with no stars, the weird shadows going in different directions, that flag that seems to be waving, the missing crater under the lander, for every one of these, the indictment offers a film set explanation that directly contradicts NASA's official one. The indictment also zeroes in on what it calls obvious production mistakes. And the most famous example is this rock from an official Apollo 16 photo. It looks like it's clearly labeled with the letter C, which the source argues is an unmistakable sign of a film prop that was marked for where to place it on the set. But according to this document, the final and most damning proof of the whole thing isn't some anomaly you can debate about. It's a deliberate act of destruction that you just can't.
So this timeline shows the long, slow vanishing act of the original high-resolution master tapes of the moonwalk. And we're not talking about the grainy pictures everyone saw on TV. This was the raw master footage, the holy grail of the Apollo program.
200,000. After a search that went on for years, NASA admitted that's how many tapes, including the Apollo 11 masters, were degaussed. That's magnetically erased as part of a cost-saving measure to reuse old tapes. The source's claim here is pretty blunt. This wasn't a mistake. It was a criminal act of destroying evidence. The argument is that those high-res tapes would have been too clear. They would have revealed all the little fingerprints of a staged production. The shimmer of studio lights, prop markers, things you'd never see in the low-quality broadcast. So, after all that, What's the ultimate takeaway from this indictment of one of history's most famous moments? Well, the source concludes that the Apollo program wasn't just a simple hoax, but something way more complex, a psychological operation. The indictment leaves us with this final duality, that the pure, noble idea of Apollo was real, but the physical reality was impossible. So that amazing impulse to explore was taken and channeled into this magnificent work of fiction, all designed to win the Cold War. This single sentence from the document really just sums up the entire argument, that a beautiful, inspiring story was given to the entire world, but it came at the cost of what really happened, with the evidence then systematically destroyed.
And that leaves us with the central question that this source material poses. What really is the cost of a magnificent lie? And what's the difference between an inspiring story and the verifiable truth?